Okay, so we're going to call the meeting to order. Apologies, we're a few minutes late getting started, just working out our technical situation. So thanks everybody for making it here on a blustery November evening. It certainly is a wild one, and I think it's going to get a little bit worse. Also, welcome to the viewers who are watching live stream and on Tello this evening. So I'll call the meeting to order, and we'll begin by standing for O Canada, please. Okay, so we'll begin with a roll call of councillors, please.
Councillor Sean Sampson.
Present.
Councillor Michael Digdon.
Present.
Deputy Warden Melanie Sampson.
Present.
Warden Amanda Marquette.
Present.
Councillor Brent Sampson.
Present.
All right. Next is items added to the agenda. I do have a couple of items to add, so I'll apologize in advance for that. There'll be quick items, though. Does anybody else have items to add before I seek approval for those?
Yeah,
Councillor Sean Sampson?
Yeah, so I'd like to discuss radar speed signs.
Radar speed signs, okay.
Yep. And just another community acknowledgement, please.
Okay, so could I have an indication of consensus from council on the addition of radar speed signs? Okay, so we have consensus there. Community acknowledgement, could I have a consensus from council to add that to the agenda? Okay, additional item that I had to add was an update on acting collectively, which we discussed at a previous council meeting, so would it be okay for us to add that to the agenda today? Yes, okay, perfect. And last one was I just wanted to do another quick update on the Plan Richmond sessions, which are coming up this week. So if I could have consensus on adding that to the agenda as well. Okay, any other items? Okay, great. So thanks everyone. Could I have a motion then to approve the agenda as amended?
I'll make that motion.
Councillor Sean Sampson. Could I have a seconder, please?
I'll second that motion.
Thank you, Councillor Digdon. Any further discussion?
Question?
All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Those opposed? Okay, that motion is carried. Thanks so much. Okay, so next is a review of minutes. We have two sets of minutes for review, both of which were circulated in advance in your meeting package. The first are the minutes from October 25th, 2021 for our regular council meeting. Are there any errors or omissions to report on those minutes? Okay, so hearing none, maybe I'll get a motion to approve the minutes, if you don't mind.
So moved.
Thank you, Deputy Warden. Could I get a seconder, please?
I'll second that.
Thank you very much. Councillor Brent Sampson. Any further discussion?
Question?
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Okay, that motion is carried. Next are the minutes from November 1st, which was a special council meeting. And the minutes, again, were included in your package. Are there any errors or omissions to report? Okay, so could I get a motion, please?
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Councillor Sean Sampson. Could I get a seconder?
I'll second that.
Thanks, Councillor Brent Sampson. Any further discussion?
Question?
Okay, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Okay, that motion is carried. All right, so now we have a period on our agenda for a question period. This question period is restricted to items on the Committee of the Whole report, and the Committee of the Whole report was published as part of the agenda package in advance. So the Committee of the Whole report included 3 items. So members of the public, there are no members in the gallery this evening, but other members of the public are invited to phone in 902-226-9885 to ask questions regarding those 3 items from the Committee of the Whole report. So we'll just give them a minute to see if the phones ring. Okay, so it's pretty quiet. Everyone is at home battening down the hatches, I think, this evening. So, all right, so we'll move on to the next item on the agenda, which is committee reports. And we'll begin with Committee of the Whole report, and I'll ask Deputy Warden Melanie Sampson to read the report.
Thank you. The committee met on November 8th, 2021. The committee discussed the recommendation number 39 from the Fire Services report. I move that council accept the recommendation of the Committee of the Whole and that staff gather information from surrounding municipalities concerning fire rates in regards to the administration of a single rate model.
So there's a motion on the floor from the committee report. Could I have a seconder, please?
I'll second that.
Thank you, Councillor Brent Sampson. Any further discussion?
Question?
All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Those opposed? Okay, that motion is carried.
The committee discussed grant requests. I move that council accept the recommendation of the Committee of the Whole and that the grant request from Lardois Men's Club Type 3 C3 sponsorships grant funds in the amount of $500 be approved from the District Number 5 fund.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor. Could I have a seconder, please?
I'll second that.
Thank you, Councillor Brent Sampson. Any further discussion?
Question?
All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Those opposed? Okay, that motion is carried.
I move that council accept the recommendation of the Committee of the Whole and that the grant request from the Bidaba Partnership Society Type 4 Regional Health General Grant Funds in the amount of $2,000 be approved.
So the motion on the floor, could I have a seconder on that, please?
I'll second that.
Thank you. Councillor Digdon, any further discussion?
Question?
All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Those opposed? Okay, that motion is carried.
The committee discussed a letter of support. I move that council accept the recommendation of the Committee of the Whole and that a letter of support be provided to the Strait of Canso Working Group regarding council's support for the Strait of Canso offshore wind energy project.
Okay, so there is a motion on the floor. Could I have a seconder?
I'll second that motion.
Thank you. Councillor Sean Sampson has seconded the motion. In terms of further discussion, just to be clear, in case anyone in the public is watching, it was specifically for an application that the Chamber is making under the Low Carbon Communities Education Grant to do additional education and research around that offshore wind energy. So just wanted to clarify that because it wasn't really clear from the motion. So.
And that letter was already sent, right? Because there was a deadline for it
It
as
was
well?
it was
With-
sent
and
conditionally.
With the,
Yeah, that's right. So it's not in support of any one specific project in terms of an actual floating wind, but it's just for, the project is for research and education. Okay, so any further discussion?
Question?
All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Those opposed? Okay, that motion is carried.
This concludes the Committee of the Whole report for the month of November 2021, and I move its adoption.
Thank you, Deputy Warden. There's a motion on the floor to accept the report. Could I have a seconder, please?
I'll second that.
Thank you, Councillor Digdon. Any further discussion?
Question?
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Okay, that motion is carried. All right, thanks, Deputy Warden. Next item on our agenda is, again, under committee reports. It is a report from the Audit Committee, and I'll read the report. It's the Audit Committee report for the month of November 2021. The committee has met on October 27th, 2021. I move that Council adopts accept the recommendation of the Audit Committee and that the financial statements of the municipality for the year ended March 31st, 2021 be accepted and presented. accepted as presented by the auditors and the chief financial officer. So we would need a motion from the floor as such.
So moved.
Thank you, Deputy Warden. Could I have a second?
I'll second that.
Thank you, Councillor Brent Sampson. Any further discussion?
Question?
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Okay, that motion is carried. So this concludes the Audit Committee report for the month of November 2021, and I'd like a motion to adopt the full report.
I'll make the motion to adopt the full report.
Thank you, Councillor Digdon. Can I have a seconder, please?
Second.
Thanks, Deputy Warden. Any further discussion?
Question?
All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Those opposed? Okay, that motion is carried. All right, so that's it for committee reports. Next item on our agenda are a motion to amend 2 policies. The first is the hours of operation policy, and this was to include the National Day of Truth and Reconciliation on September 30th into the list of holidays on which the municipal office and its facilities would be closed. So could I have a motion to amend the hours of operation policy, please?
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Councillor Sean Sampson. Could I have a seconder, please?
I'll second that.
Councillor Brent Sampson has seconded the motion. Is there any further discussion?
Question?
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Okay, that motion is carried. The next motion to amend is the grant policy as per amendments made at the November 3rd, 2021 Bylaw and Policy Committee meeting, and that policy is also included in your package. Is there anyone willing to make a motion to amend the grant policy as presented?
So moved.
Thank you, Deputy Warden. Could I have a seconder, please?
I'll second that motion.
Councillor Sean Sampson, thank you. Any further discussion on the grant policy?
Question?
All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Those opposed? Okay, that motion is carried. Next is a motion to adopt a flag policy as a policy of the municipality of the County of Richmond. And that policy was drafted, I guess, through our Bylaw and Policy Committee meeting. It was included in your meeting package and represents the discussion of that evening. Would anyone like to make a motion to adopt the flag policy?
So moved.
Thank you, Deputy Warden. Could I have a seconder on that?
I'll second that.
Councillor Sean Sampson. Thank you. Any further discussion on those items? Okay. All those in favor,
Question?
please say aye. Oh, sorry,
Wait,
is
no.
there a question?
No, that's fine.
Okay. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Okay, that motion is carried. And just for clarification, I'm assuming that those policies, as they're kind of amended and adopted, they'll be uploaded to the website to replace the old.
They'll be there tomorrow.
They'll be, okay, awesome, great. Okay. So, next item on the agenda, cruising right through here this evening, is presentations on live stream. And I actually wanted to bring this up because I was reviewing one of the last meetings that we had, where we had presenters in, and it kind of struck me that their presentations are not really well reflected on the screen. You know what I mean? Like, so I'm wondering, like, I guess if the camera is pointed at a particular screen, then you can kind of see it, but it's not clear. And I think it kind of takes away from the work that presenters do when they're coming in and making an effort to present to municipal council. I'd love to be able to see it a little more clearly. And I'm just wondering if there's some investigation, I guess, basically we could do into that. I don't even know if it's possible to do better, but I'm wondering if that's something we could explore with Tellil. So if councillors are interested in that, maybe we could ask staff to see if there's a way. And if there's not, I'm not suggesting we would expend at this point a lot of money to get it there, because I know we're looking at council chambers changes anyways. But if there is an easy and inexpensive way, I wondered if councillors would be interested in that.
Yeah, for sure,
Yeah.
because that's been
Yeah.
commented before, that,
Yeah.
that people would like to be able to see the presentations a bit better
Yeah.
when they're seeing it on live
Mhm.
stream or in the
Mhm.
recording. So, yes, for sure.
Okay. Okay, so maybe we'll have a motion then to ask staff to look into a better display for presentations.
And
On
it
our
might just be as
recordings.
simple as zooming into the big
On the big
overhead.
screen, yeah.
It might, yeah.
It might be something that Phil can practice or
Yeah,
check. Or,
exactly. I'm sure there's some technical way to do it that I'm, but I'm not familiar with this exact setup, so. Okay, so could I have a motion then to ask staff to investigate better quality presentations for our live stream?
I'll make that motion.
Okay, Councillor Sean Sampson, could I have a seconder, please?
I'll second that.
Thank you, Councillor Digdon. Any further discussion?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, for me, Madam Warden, and there's not to get off topic, but just while we're on the topic of live stream, I have some residents that would ask me if they can get the info of live stream on the agenda on Fridays. Is that
Right.
possible, or is
So
that
the-
too soon?
So I
to-
actually don't know if that's possible, but I
Okay.
did see an email kind of trail back and forth about that. My understanding is about an hour before the meeting is when we get the link. Is it possible? Do you know what I mean?
The live
So-
stream.
So for us to
find out.
advertise,
Yeah,
for
that
us
it's
to be
gonna be
able to
live
put
streamed.
on the agenda or advertise on Friday like we do normally, the actual link people can click on to watch the live stream?
No, I don't think it's created.
We don't put the link on Friday.
No.
We only post the agenda. on Friday.
Right.
Yeah.
So when do we get the link? Like, what's the earliest we can
What?
get the link
The link from.
for the live
LL?
stream? Yeah.
Oh,
Well, we can check with Tel to see.
It's,
when that
it was an
is.
hour beforehand, I remember.
4
hours,
hours,
yeah.
yeah.
Beforehand?
Yeah.
Okay,
Okay.
yeah.
All right.
So, yeah, just, is it possible to put that on our website, like 4 hours
That would-
before, or,
Oh,
like, just,
well, I shared it, today, actually, as soon as I seen that Tello had put it on, I shared it to the Richmond County Facebook page.
Ah, okay.
Okay.
Yep.
Even though it was just showing the main screen, it showed we're going live
Right.
at 7 o'clock. So
Right.
as soon as I notice, normally Becky will, message me the link where she just
Yep.
created it, and I'll post it on
Okay.
Richmond County Facebook page. But
Okay.
do you want it on the website too?
I'm thinking if it was on the
Yeah,
website, it's
please.
it's a static place where, you know what I mean? It's a
Yeah.
consistent place, not static, but a consistent place where people will know to go to
Yeah.
get that. And if they know that it's gonna be published there within so many hours of the meeting, then, you know how sometimes if you're on Facebook, like you'll be scrolling through
Yeah.
kind of thing, if there was other things going on that day.
yeah.
So that would be helpful.
And many
And
don't
may-
have Facebook, but you
yeah.
can Google the.
That's
Richmond
true.
County.
And maybe that can be put on the agenda as well, just the,
Yes,
just
just
the
go to our,
wording that,
go to our
you know, yeah.
website to
Oh,
find the
yeah,
live
Yeah,
we could add
just-
the
stream
wording.
link.
right,
Okay.
just the wording on the agenda.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah, that's simple.
Thank you,
Simple
thank you,
fix.
yeah.
Thanks,
Thank
Councillor
you.
Sean Sampson. Okay, any further discussion on that item? Okay, so all those in favor, please say aye.
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 Those opposed? Okay, that motion is carried. Thanks, folks. Okay, so the next item on the agenda is Provincial Day of Action regarding I realize I put the acronym, sorry, I live in a world of acronyms, but LTC, Long-Term Care, which is coming up on November 30th. And this is just basically to share information for councillors and with the public that on November 30th from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. at the empty parking lot across from Louis Cozy Corner, the old Irving Garage where it was there, CUPE, which is representing long-term care workers, will have an information public awareness picket happening across the province on that day, and specifically in that location. The day is really to raise awareness of staff shortages, to increase staff ratio levels, to ensure adequate care is available to meet the needs of all residents. And it's also to ensure that staff are paid fairly and competitively, and vacation and time off are granted to avoid staff burnout. It's obviously our long-term care facilities have been under a great deal of strain, especially since the pandemic began. And I know that a lot of times there's not enough people to handle the workload, and it's been a really stressful time. So I just wanted to take this time, I guess, or this moment to express Council's appreciation for the work of our long-term care professionals in our communities. I look forward to supporting them on November 30th and in the days ahead, but just wanted to kind of let Council and public know that action was going to be happening as well, and encourage you to reach out to some, long-term care workers in your community to express your support and appreciation of them, for sure. It's really kind of in line with the work that we've been doing anyways with Cape Breton South Recruiting for Health as well, so. So any questions or comments regarding that item?
No, just, thank you for bringing that up, Madam Warden. Yeah, there's gonna be some people as well at the St. Anne Center on
Oh, will
November
there be?
30th. Yeah, so I will be showing my support as well, yes.
Okay, that's great. I
Yeah.
wasn't sure if there were other locations in the county where
Yeah.
that was taking place, but that makes sense. That's great. Okay. All right, so if there's no further questions or discussions, okay, then I'll move us on to the next item on the agenda, which is a housing survey. And so, folks, I just put that on the agenda for this evening to discuss because at our last committee of the whole, I think it was, the Cape Breton Partnership had been in, and they were discussing a whole variety of work, pieces of work that they do for us. And one of the things I think that was mentioned really quickly was housing surveys that they've done in other municipalities and how beneficial that has been. So I just wanted to kind of get a sense from councillors if there might be an interest in asking them to do such a piece of work for us as a county. I mean, I know that I've reported back to you on the work of the Straight Richmond Housing Matters Coalition and the work that that group does, but this would specifically be something for the county, whereas that's a more regional group. And I do know that given with the new provincial government in place, there is going to be some, I think, additional work done on housing and some research being conducted on housing across the province. But I guess I'm just kind of wondering, is that something council would be of interest in? It would be to ask the Cape Breton Partnership to maybe align with whatever provincial efforts are already underway or planned, and then come up with something specific to our county that might help us better understand the housing situation
Yeah,
here.
I agree.
Okay. So I guess we'd be asking them to do a piece of work, so perhaps I could get a motion from council to that effect, to ask Cape Breton Partnership to do that work.
Would there likely be a cost incurred to the county on that, or what would?
To my knowledge, there hasn't been in other places.
Okay.
I mean, we do invest in the partnership, so my understanding is that it would be just specifically a use of staff time.
Okay.
Yeah, and I believe Carla said that when she was here, like that it was something they would be able to do
Okay.
pro bono.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So if folks are in agreement, could I have a motion to ask the partnership to support that work?
I'll make that motion, Madam Warden.
Okay. Thank you, Councillor Sean Sampson. So could I have a seconder, please?
I'll second that motion.
Thanks, Councillor Digdon. Any further discussion?
Question?
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Okay, that motion is carried. All right, so the next item on the agenda was a congrats to Trudy's Nutrition, and I should say that Trudy Mugga is a resident of Richmond County, and she had contacted me a couple weeks back inviting me to go to her grand opening on November 12th, and I was unable to attend, unfortunately, but I was happy to tune in to some of the live broadcast, and it looked to be very successful. So she has opened Trudy's Nutrition as of November 12th at her new location at 803 Church Street in Port Hawkesbury, which is in the lower level of the In Motion Chiropractic building. But as a resident, certainly, of Richmond County, who's taking that leap into entrepreneurship and setting up a storefront, I just wanted to take a minute to congratulate her on her new location and what looked to be a really wonderful grand opening with all that lovely ribbon cutting and giveaways and all the good stuff. So congratulations, Trudy. Any questions on that or discussion? Okay. So I had a couple of additional upcoming notable dates that I wanted to mention as well. And as we kind of head into December, certainly there's a few dates that have been on my mind. The first actually was a date that just happened, was World Children's Day on November 20th. It's a day that is designed to reflect on our commitment to improving the welfare of children around the world and in our own communities. And I just felt that with the high levels of child poverty on Cape Breton Island and the impacts of residential schools and the 60 scoops still being felt in many of our communities, we still have a long ways to go towards protecting and improving the lives of children here. And so I just felt that it was worthy of mention, certainly at the meeting this evening. The next date is the International Day for the Elimination of Violence Against Women, coming up on November 25th. So that's a day that's recognized by the UN and, of course, by thousands of survivors and activists and decision makers from all over the world. And it really is to shine a light on the need for funding for essential services, prevention, and data that better shapes informed responses to the situation. And the pandemic certainly has intensified the problem of violence against women and girls across the globe. As individuals, there's things we can do to respond and help, and I just wanted to mention a couple of them. Listening to and believing survivors, teaching the next generation and learning from them, calling for responses and services that are fit for the purpose of dealing with that violence, understanding consent, standing against rape culture, funding women's organizations, holding each other accountable, learning the signs of abuse and how you can help. So these are just some of the ways that I think as individuals that we can kind of support the effort to eliminate violence against women. And as we head into December, certainly December 6th is a date that is in all of our memories, certainly after the events at the Polytechnique in Montreal. So I just wanted to kind of put that on our radar as individuals. And also, next item was Municipal Awareness Week, which starts today, November 22nd, and runs through to the 28th. So it's an opportunity to highlight the important work happening in the local government, at the local government level, and to encourage citizens to participate in municipal government and elections. And I know we've certainly enjoyed a great deal of support at committee level and with voter turnout in the last number of elections. So I think it's worth celebrating Municipal Awareness Week. And certainly I'll be doing some social media around it, and hopefully maybe we could get that shared on some of the county page as well. And so those were the notable dates that I wanted to mention. Did anybody else have notable dates that they wanted to add, or no? Okay. All right. Next item on the agenda is RCMP costs. So as municipalities look to pass our budgets for next year, the issue of municipal RCMP costs and the increase that we're facing is really has been top of mind, I know, for many. Municipalities were advised to prepare and were given estimates of 2.5% per year increases, which turned out to be far below the final agreement, which was a closer to 23% increase over 6 years, with retroactive pay going back to 2017. Municipalities were not consulted during the bargaining process, despite its outcome having a substantial impact on our finances. So I know certainly the Federation of Canadian Municipalities has been providing supporting information to help us advocate for support. Essentially what they're asking the federal government to do is to absorb all retroactive costs associated with the implementation of the new RCMP collective agreement. And going forward, that municipalities would be properly consulted prior to the implementation of measures that have a direct impact on our operations. This is a significant mandatory cost that we pay each year in contracted services. So a message sent to us by email also, I'm not sure if councillors would have noticed that one come through. It was through NSFM, but it was from Municipal Affairs Minister John Lohr, who indicated that with this agreement, the RCMP total compensation, including pensions and benefits, is now competitive with other police services and considered to be fair and reasonable for Canadian taxpayers, which is absolutely where we want to be. But again, it does represent a significant cost for municipalities. And so I know that the province is working closely with the National Contract Management Committee to address those impacts. And there has, of course, been some delay due to the federal election and the newly formed cabinet. So at the end of the day, they're still waiting for answers to calculate the exact financial impact to municipal budgets, and I know that they'll share that information when it's available. The bottom line is, though, that the Federation of Canadian Municipalities has suggested that municipalities adopt a resolution that would essentially send a message to the federal government to let them know that we are seeking support to help cover some of those costs that we're going to be incurring. And I know we'll all remember from budget time, it's a significant it's a significant chunk of our budget, and it is mandatory for us to pay. And although as much as we absolutely would want that remuneration to be competitive and with other Canadian locations, we still have to be able to deal with that increase, and it's a steep one. So there has a draft resolution has been provided by the Federation, and we included that in your agenda package, and I'm not sure if folks have a chance to look at it, but I'd kind of be open for discussion as to whether or not councillors felt it would be wise to pass that resolution, which is specifically designed to insist that municipalities are supported better by the federal government as we make this transition. So, any thoughts on that? Sorry, I spoke a lot on that, but it's a big issue.
Yeah,
No,
Yeah.
I'm fine with it because, I mean, it's true what they say. I mean, the federal government negotiated this, but, you know, municipalities are left holding the bag in this case. And,
yeah.
you know, especially the retroactive part. I mean, you know,
Yeah.
where we had no say in this, it's not really
Yeah.
fair to the residents of Richmond County to have to go back when we weren't involved in the negotiations at all. I have no problem making a motion to support this resolution.
Okay. Okay, thank you, Councillor Sampson. Councillor Digdon, I'll get your thoughts on this.
Yeah, I believe we also have to look, you know, I know the municipality has the opportunity, but it has to be done a year prior. So I think that's something we may want to look at is, you know, our numbers have fallen over the last several years, I'm sure, in our residents. You know, the area that covers the same, but the amount of residents in the county of Richmond has fallen. So I guess, to me, two questions we may want to check is, one, do we really need, I guess, the 9.5 police officers that are allocated to our area? Would be question number one. And number two is, you know, if we need the 9.5, do we got to go up to the 10 or 10.5 to eliminate the overtime that is being covered? Because the overtime, looking at the paper, the overtime almost was the cost of one extra police officer. Sorry.
The thing is, I don't think that would really matter because that overtime is a calculation based on like a general average, right? It's not, I don't think that had anything to do with overtime charged here. That was just how they average it out, the cost per officer, basically. So even if you added officers, you'd add the same overtime number in there again, as far as I understood, anyway.
Yeah.
That's what I understood from the presentation
Yeah.
as well, that when
It-
the RCMP did the presentation for us, that it wasn't actual overtime in Richmond County, it was overtime over the whole
It would,
process, and then we had our portion of it.
yeah, it's basically averaged out, so everybody's paying their chunk of it, kind of thing. So if you were to add an officer, you'd still be paying that same fee one more time, basically.
Right, okay.
So I guess then we go back to the discussion, do we need the 9.5 officers to cover?
Yeah, and I
You
think
know.
maybe that's probably a conversation for the police advisory committee where we could kind of maybe do a more in-depth review of that.
Yeah, and I
That
mean,
makes
maybe we
sense.
can have, you know, the sergeant come in and give us a
Yeah.
breakdown of exactly, you know, I don't need the
How it's
schedule nor
working
the,
here.
but yeah, just,
Yeah. How it's working, yeah. No, that's a great idea, Councillor Digdon, would be to refer that sort of review to Police Advisory Committee, for sure. Would you be opposed to or in supportive of maybe passing this resolution this evening, though, the draft?
oh, yeah, no, I have no problem seconding the motion if,
Okay. All right, so Councillor Sean Sampson?
Yeah, no, I mean, for me, looking at numbers of 2.5 and then 23.7, percent, so that's without any consultation or discussion with the municipality. That's,
That's a
to
big
me, is
jump.
alarming for all of us and all the taxpayers of Richmond County, so I would support this motion for sure.
Okay. Deputy Warden, your thoughts on
Agree.
the resolution? Yeah?
Agree.
Okay.
Yeah.
So then perhaps what I'll do is I'll read, for the benefit of the public, I'll read the resolution and then ask for a motion to adopt it. Would that be okay?
Sure.
All right. Okay, so the resolution is regarding RCMP contract policing and municipal cost increases. So whereas the recent collective agreement between the RCMP and National Police Federation includes significant retroactive pay going back to 2017, as well as pay increases going forward, and whereas our municipality and others that depend on RCMP contract policing are facing significant unbudgeted costs that may force us to make a very difficult choice at a time when our primary focus needs to be on economic recovery from the COVID-19 pandemic. And whereas municipalities were not consulted at any stage of the negotiations process, despite the outcome of these negotiations having a direct and significant impact on municipal operations. And whereas RCMP cost increases will disproportionately impact rural communities. And whereas municipalities are eager to work more closely with other orders of government and the RCMP on contract policing issues to ensure the financial sustainability of contract policing and to maintain the service levels necessary for community safety. Therefore, be it resolved that the municipality of the County of Richmond joins the Federation of Canadian Municipalities in calling on the federal government to absorb all retroactive costs associated with the implementation of the new RCMP labor relations regime, and be it further resolved that the federal government should commit to ensuring municipalities are properly consulted prior to implementation of measures that impact local financial fiscal sustainability and ability to maintain effective levels of policing services in communities. So could I have a motion? Sorry. Oh.
We had a motion, Brett made the motion.
Oh, did you make the motion, Brett?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No,
Okay.
that's fine.
I missed that.
Actually, he
Yeah.
said that he
I
would
was-
make a motion to support
I thought he said he
that.
would make a
Right,
motion,
yeah.
but I didn't think it
That's-
was
yeah.
the motion, so apologies.
I can make it now,
Yeah.
anyway. I'll make a
Okay,
motion
well,
to
let's firm it
accept
up.
that resolution.
Thank you,
Yeah,
Councillor Brett
I'll
Sampson.
second that motion too.
Thank you, Deputy Warden. All right, so any further discussion?
Question?
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Okay, that motion is carried. I thought it was a hypothetical, I would. All right, thanks, folks. So the next item on the agenda then is, I've lost my agenda here, hang on one second, is the strategic plan. So first of all, I want to apologize to councillors because I had every intention of having that draft in the package that Yvonne would have sent out on Friday, but a nasty flu bug hit me, and I was out of commission on Friday and most of Saturday. So, so I did send it out last evening, and I'm sure some folks haven't had a chance to read it. But what I did want to mention about it this evening is that essentially the RFP that I came back with based on the draft that had originally been provided by staff is that it's not designed to attract a full-fledged strategic planning proposal. We already have a plan, this one here, the 2019 to 2024 plan that had been done, and essentially we positioned it, I think, at that time when we were talking about it and during budgeting as sort of we need to revisit these priorities, we need to refresh what that plan is, because number one, we are a new council elected completely since the creation of that plan, but also certainly things have changed, and so that's why it's kind of more a revisiting of the priorities. And as you'll recall, we had only allotted $17,000 to do that, which reflects our budget to refresh something and not to do a full-fledged new plan. So for those who had an opportunity to review it, I'd kind of welcome any questions or concerns. I would suggest that, if we're not ready to kind of say, yes, we want to release it this evening because we need a little more time to read it, I'm wondering if we could at least proceed with saying, well, if councillors don't notice any problems with it by December 1st, then perhaps we could, or November, then we could release it by then, rather than wait till our next meeting. But it's entirely up to council how we would like to proceed. So I'm not sure. Did anybody get a chance to review that, even though I sent it in the wee hours last night?
Yeah, I don't know, yeah, and I don't know that I'd be comfortable doing anything concrete with it tonight, only because I
Okay,
didn't,
yeah.
I know it came through
It was
pretty late. I
late.
saw it this morning and didn't have any time to read it between this morning and now, so, so yeah, that'd be my only thoughts on it, but I mean, if you wanted, as you said, we could probably do something where we give a specific date to offer feedback by then.
Okay. Deputy Warden, your thoughts?
I did have a chance to look at it, and it seemed to be reasonable to me. I certainly did enjoy that there was different, I love that we had the targeted meetings, with the business community, with youth, whatever. And I also did like that, one of the parts was to connect with the Cape Breton Partnership, because I think they have a lot of information that can feed into a plan
Yeah.
and sort of support some of the pieces. So, for me, yeah, I'd probably like another quick look at it, but certainly,
Mhm.
at first glance, it seemed like a great
Mhm.
document.
And I should mention too, I did connect with Carl Arsenault at the
Yeah,
Cape Breton
suspected
Partnership
you
on
did.
this, right, to make sure that they would be available to support it, and she certainly indicated they
Mhm.
would be. Okay, so Councillor Sean Sampson?
Yeah, just like Deputy Warden Melanie said, I looked at it as well, and the consultation and the business meetings with the local business people. For me, yeah, again, the 4% of people that, did the survey in the 2019 one, we have to do better this time, in my opinion. So if that's more meetings and more public consultations with business leaders, then I'm all for that, and I was pleased to see that, for sure, yep.
Yeah. I think we have the added advantage of just having campaigned a year ago too, right? Where we knocked on
Yeah.
thousands
Yeah,
of doors
yeah, yeah,
and
yeah.
spoke to thousands of people, and so it's a great piece of insight
Yeah.
to enter into something
Yeah.
like this with. So, Councillor Digdon?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, so far everything I read seemed fine. The 4% still bothers me. We have a greater turnout for an ATV run on a weekend than the 4% of the Richmond County. So again, like you said, Madam Warden, I think with new council, it's probably something that people will want to entertain and obviously want to see where we're going with it. So yeah,
Okay.
I'm fine with it.
All right. I'd also ask staff, and again, I sent it really late last night. I'm not sure if you had an opportunity. I know it's busy prepping for council, but if you had an opportunity, if you had any.
I
comments.
actually didn't, actually.
Yeah, no, that's fair. I guess at this point, I'm wondering if I could suggest that perhaps we have a motion to proceed with issuing the RFP maybe by December 1st, if councillors don't note any concerns by November 30th. Would people be comfortable with that?
Mhm.
Or do you,
Mm.
yeah?
Yes.
Sure.
And that would give us kind of a week or so to get that. Okay. So could I have a motion to that effect, please?
I'll make that motion.
Councillor Sean Sampson?
I'll second that motion.
Councillor Digdon? Okay. Any further discussion?
Question?
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay, that motion is carried. Thanks so much. All right, so now I think we are at items, we are at review of action items. So there was a list of action items provided from November 1st special council meeting. I just wanted to note that I really love the little dates in red, so that I can tell where that's coming from and how long it's been sitting there. I love it. Thank you, Yvonne, for doing that. So any questions regarding the action items? Okay. So hearing none, we'll move on to items added to the agenda. So I think the first item added to our agenda was for Councillor Sean Sampson regarding radar speed signs.
Yeah, so, Madam Warden, we've all seen them in our travels, and I think we can all agree that they do work. When you see that flashing red speed limit sign going off when you're approaching it, everybody slows down. It gains everybody's attention, right? During our recent police RCMP committee meeting, there was some residents that brought this up to my attention to see what the chances are of getting some of these radar screens placed in Almadam somewheres. So just wondering if we could add that to a committee of the whole discussion and see what the cost would be, how we go about getting these signs and deciding where to put these signs.
Mm-hmm.
Sergeant Ed Nugent had mentioned that the best place is to put them on a straightaway, where you don't want to be coming around a turn and there it is, right? You really want to gain.
Yeah, no, that's right.
You want to gain the speed of the vehicle coming towards it, right? So, I'd like to have an open discussion on the
Mhm.
possibility of having those put in Richmond County.
Okay. Deputy Warden, do you have a comment?
So earlier in the year, like through the winter, there were concerns about speed is in areas in my district. So I actually had chatted with the Director of Public Works, with Chris, a little bit about it, just to see if he knew anything about those signs. So I can provide you maybe with a little bit of information, and again, I'm sure he can elaborate, but basically, the Department of Public Works is sort of the holder of those speed radar signs. Like,
The Nova Scotia Department. of
That's right, yeah, sorry, not our
Yes,
Department of Public
yeah.
Works. Yes, now that Nova Scotia is called
Right.
Department of Public. I was trying so hard not to call it TIR that I forgot the Nova Scotia part. So I guess there are portable units, and those are kept in Fall River, and that, I'm just looking up the email, generally used on main roads, again, which is sort of what we're talking about here, but they're rentable, right? So there's a cost associated with that, several $1,000s, I guess, to rent them. Because I know when we had asked, I was like, oh gosh, because it was around budget time, and I was gonna present it as something, but then it just seemed to be a bit absorbent for pricing. Yeah, so that was sort of the quick, I almost fell off my chair when I heard it was a few $1,000s. And then I think he had also mentioned at that time, and I just can't find it right here in my email, he had mentioned, I think, that the Village of St. Peter's actually purchased the ones that they had, but they were quite expensive as well. And again, maybe you have more information as it's your district, I'm not
No.
sure.
We got that information back already.
Yeah,
from
yeah.
some
You did,
people.
okay.
Yeah, so Yvonne reached out to Megan at the
Okay.
village, the St. Peter Village, and yeah, they are expensive
There,
for sure,
yeah.
yeah.
So I
So
mean, it's
that's-
probably something that we need to maybe consider at budget time,
Right.
because I think that it's something, unless we had a spot in our budget. So
Yeah.
I'm absolutely open to that conversation,
Yeah.
again, because I know I've had similar issues in my own district, so I think we probably all have what we'll call problem areas in all of our districts, but I think it's gonna be a pricey event, so it's something we'd need to
So-
Yeah,
specifically
they were
budget
over,
for.
they were over $3,000 a piece, I think, according to that email, maybe 3500.
34 and change, yeah, plus tax.
3,600, yeah, I have it actually
Yeah.
right here.
So-
yeah.
So my understanding from having kind of discussed them, the use of them in community projects in the past, was that they're really, really effective at the beginning, but then as time goes on, their effectiveness tends to wane a little bit. I'm wondering if, since there's an organization that has purchased some in our region, could we potentially rent from them and have them moved around for less funds?
Mhm.
Maybe that's something we could explore with the
Mhm.
village.
Yeah,
Because, they've been up in St. Peter's for a while
Yeah.
now.
yeah,
And maybe,
Yeah.
if they were repositioned
yeah.
and then brought back, you know what I mean? Like they're.
Yeah, that's,
Yeah.
or even if we
Yeah.
budgeted to buy a set of them for the county
And then did that.
And
And
moved them around,
rotated
yeah.
them through,
Yeah.
Exactly.
depending, like the area, for me, it's a real problem during school time.
Right.
Yeah.
Right, so like when it would be the summer, it wouldn't be necessary there, but that might be just the time that it's super busy on the stretch here in front of the municipal office or
Right.
something,
That's
right?
right.
So,
Yeah, so I'm thinking a couple things then. We
Mhm.
could inquire with the village to see if they'd be interested in renting them out for different locations and what that cost might be. And then second would be to refer to budget time
Yeah.
to potentially look at purchasing some for
Mhm,
the region,
mhm.
for the county. Would that make sense?
mhm.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. So could maybe we'll start with a motion to ask staff to contact the village or to see if they would be interested in renting and what that price would be for the radar signs. Could I have a motion to that effect?
I'd so move.
Thank you, Deputy Warden. Could I have a seconder, please?
I'll second that motion.
Thank you, Councillor Digdon. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Okay, that motion is carried. And I'm not sure that we would need a second motion to refer to budget. I think we could just,
Yeah, we just do it, yeah.
let's make a note of it and.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, thanks a lot, folks. Okay, next item on the agenda is a community acknowledgement from Sean Sampson, Councillor Sean Sampson.
Yes, thank you, Madam Warden. I'd like to take the time to acknowledge Carol and Laura Marriott. Carol and Laura, along with their oldest son and brother David, lost their son and brother Jason to cancer at the early age of 21. And when it comes to Carol herself, she's now battling the disease herself. So, you know, when it comes to these two ladies and all the struggles and the hardship and the sorrow in their lives, they just keep moving on, moving forward, and every year they have an annual IWK toy drive, where this year she had a cold plate drive and raised over $7,000 and bought toys for that amount of money, to the point now where it's gotten so big that you know, she needs buses. I think Straight Area Transit offers to take these buses of toys to the IWK in Halifax. So just want to acknowledge these two women. Again, you know, everything they go through in their life, and still find a way to move forward and do what they do for the kids at the IWK. I mean, they're quoted as saying it's a way for them to keep Jason's spirit alive. And they said that, you know, Jason was a giver, and he loved kids, and he loved giving to kids, and if he was alive today, he'd love to be part of this toy drive as well. So yeah, for me, I'm sitting around this table today because of people like Carol and Laura and David and all the volunteers that helped Carol during the year to make sure that these kids get toys at Christmas time at the IWK. So on behalf of Carol, you know, all the volunteers that helped Carol, I just want to say thank you on behalf of all of us here and all of Richmond County. And for me, they're just truly an inspiration to all of us, and they should be an inspiration to all of us. So congratulations to them, and God bless the both of them, and God bless their older son David as well. Thank you.
Well said, Councillor Sean. Any comments or questions for Sean on that? Okay. All right. So next item on the agenda is acting collectively. So we do have an update on that, and it is that we were successful in applying to be part of that research project, which is great timing considering that we're getting ready to launch our strategic planning as well. So it's kind of like the stars are aligning. Of the expressions of interest received, 3 were from the Cape Breton region, and because of the quality of those expressions and the geographic proximity of the communities, they decided to extend the project. They were originally only going to pick 2 communities, and they decided to extend it and pick all 3. And so those 3, I think, it's the CBRM, but sort of really focused on the New Waterford, kind of Glace Bay area, Richmond County, and Victoria County. So it's really cool that we're all in this together, and as outlined, or I think as they had sent to us in a previous communication, they're going to support us in applying for the Department of Seniors and Long-Term Care Age-Friendly Communities Grant to support our participation and implementation in the project. So we had an initial kickoff meeting today. Myself and Dorothy Bernard attended, and I just want to thank Dorothy again for her effort on the expression of interest, and also for sticking with it. She and I are going to have a debrief kind of meeting later in the week, and kind of figure out what the next steps are. And like there's some great opportunities within it. We'll have some training opportunities. We'll have you know, customized community level reports to inform our planning, as well as supporting, I guess, 120 older community members with specifically individualized action plans. So it's a really interesting project. It's really, I guess, early days, but I wanted to communicate that we were successful, and that's always a great piece of news. So I would ask you not to ask me too many hard questions right yet, because I just had the meeting this afternoon, and we need to regroup and figure out what's next. But more information to come for sure. So it's good news. Okay, so but seriously, if there are any questions, I'm happy to try to answer them. I'll do my best. I don't want to cut it off. All good? All right. So next item on the agenda are the planned Richmond sessions. So this was just a note to say that an additional session was added, and so we'll be in Lordways on November 25th. I believe it starts at 6:30 p.m. for the next of the consultation sessions for the Plan Richmond initiative. And then I think following that will be a session online, which I believe is on December 7th, again at 6:30, and registration is open on the website right now. So if you weren't able to get to, or you don't think you'll be able to get to Lordways, if you haven't gotten to any of them so far, you can still participate in the online session by visiting www.planrichmond.ca. And of course, on that website, there's also a survey and lots of other ways to participate. And there'll be additional consultations to come as well. So, forms of consultation, I should say. So I just wanted to highlight that for folks. Any questions or comments from councillors on that? Okay. So that brings us to the end of our items added to the agenda, and on to the next question period. So this question period would be restricted to the remainder of the agenda following the Committee of the Whole and Audit reports. Again, the phone in is 902-226-9885. And we'll have a maximum of 15 minutes, but based on our first question period, I think it's going to be quiet, probably having to do with the weather and all kinds of other things. So, all right. So I'll just give it a minute to see if the phone rings. Okay. All right, it's quiet, so I'll move us on to the next item, which is an in-camera session, and we do have contract negotiations and personnel to add to discuss in camera. So at this stage, I'll ask for a motion to move us in camera, please.
I'll make the motion to move us in camera.
Thank you, Councillor Digdon. Could I have a seconder on that?
I'll second that motion.
Thank you, Councillor Sean Sampson. All those in favor, please say aye.
Right.
Aye. Those opposed? Okay, that motion is carried. We'll take a quick break to allow Tellil to wrap up their live stream, and then we'll move in camera. Thanks so much, folks.